The prophet Isaiah taught, God said, clear a path, clear away all obstacles from the path of my people. What do we learn from this? No matter our background, our neighborhood, our community, our gender, our color, our creed, everyone deserves the chance to succeed. And so I invite you to stand up if you are able as we rededicate ourselves to opportunity for all. Let's join together. Tekiah. Shavarim Teruah. Tekiah. And let's welcome Zack Block.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Happy New Year. I want to talk about this concept of opportunity for all. In my mind, this concept is really about equity. So in the Torah, we already heard it today while we're here about how we treat the stranger. And I can't remember if it was services this morning already or here where we heard about the fact that how we treat the stranger is mentioned 36 times in the Torah. The most oft-mentioned thing that we can talk about is how we treat one another. And that's this concept of equity to me. So the way I really wanted to do that is I wish I had a PowerPoint with a slide that I'm going to go over this meme that's pretty popular on the internet with you, but we're all going to have to envision it together. Okay, so we put on our imagination caps and we're doing all that work with us. Right? I see some people actually miming that. That's great. You're the more creative types. I need you in here. And looking at this from like my identities, right? We all have a room, or every one of us has many different identities that make up who we are. For me, I'm a white cisgender male. Cisgender means I identify with the gender that I was born with. Heterosexual, Ashkenazi Jew, all of these things that lead to the power and privilege that I have in the world that we live in, right? So when we talk about equity and we talk about equality, there are systems that are set up in this country that play towards the advantages and the privileges that lots of us in the room already have and identify with, okay? So if you imagine, and probably a lot of you have seen this, so it's going to be easy to go with and understand. There's a fence, right? And you have three people trying to look over the fence. My wife told me I need to be super descriptive here. So the fence is this like tightly nailed together wooden fence. You can't see through it, okay? And it's tall. It's a tall enough fence that, you know, maybe if you're 5 feet or something like that, you can see over it. Does that, people feel good about that description? Okay. So like with all of like my privileges and identities, I can see over that fence right now. But people of different heights can't necessarily see over that fence. So about 5 years ago, I wasn't working with Repair the World. I was actually a tax attorney. And when I thought about this kind of stuff in that context, well, first of all, I really didn't so much, right? Which is a privilege, right? But I thought more about like what equality is as opposed to this concept of equity. So equality is really the first of this meme that gets put together, and everybody's given a box. It's the same box, right? The exact same dimensions. And maybe for that aspect, then the tall person sees over the fence, and the person who's a little bit shorter, they can also then see over the fence. But the person who's the shortest of all can't see over the fence still. So we're like, okay, at the beginning, this is a concept that's working for, well, again, not everybody then, okay? Not everybody has that access. Not everybody has the ability to live their lives in the way that they would choose. So then this concept became clear to me about equity. But for those familiar with this meme, it's evolved also. So in the beginning, when I first started seeing a copy of this, it would look like, all right, well, the shortest person had 2 boxes, and the person in the middle who was a little bit taller had 1 box, and then the other person didn't have a box because they could already see over. So now everybody can see over. But that's not the way that it needs to be in the world, right? I actually think about this in the way of like, I work in a nonprofit. The amazing people who are speaking here today, of which I can't believe I'm like one of these 5 people because I'm so blown away by everyone else here. But we're doing that work. Like, this nonprofit world, we're not changing the system in that way. Like, we're the boxes, kind of, okay? That's okay. There's a need for it. There's a place for it until we change the systems. Betty talked about it. I actually think like equity and opportunity for all is a theme that's going to run across everybody's conversations today. So ideally in the world, what I want to stand up for, what we want to have, I don't want that fence to be so tightly wound and you can't see through it. I don't want it to be opaque or 5 feet tall or any of those things. People don't have to have the boxes that we're standing on to prop ourselves up. What we need to have is for the fence to be clear, right? So that we can all see through. So that without being encumbered, we can all see through and we all have that benefit. And that, to me, is what equity really is. And that's the work that we have to do. So I'll leave you with, we talked about the stranger at the beginning, and with Pirkei Avot, which is ethics of the fathers in traditional Judaism or Judaic studies. And Rabbi Tarfon has a quote. It's not incumbent, which I think we'll hear later also, but it's not incumbent upon us to finish the work, but neither are we to desist from it. And that's how we do it. In this concept of removing the opaqueness in front of us and creating equity, that means for all of us to change the system. And to do that, you have to organize, you have to get up and vote. You have to vote for people who believe in the things that you believe in and who will make the world a more equitable place. So thank you. Shana Tova.